Welcome to the Some Insights podcast.
SoMe stands for social media, of course.
I'm Dante Licona, social media strategist and consultant.
And I'm Matthias Lufkens, founder of DigiTips.
In this podcast, we talk to the people who manage social media accounts for organizations and their executives. They all have interesting stories to tell.
The idea is to learn how they're managing accounts, how executives engage on each platform, and hear their tips and tricks. We want to learn from the best cases of social media usage.
Today, we're happy to have with us Jana Borges. Welcome to the show, Jana.
Thanks for having me.
Jana is the head of audiovisual social media coordinator at the World Trade Organization. The WTO has 1.5 million followers on social media, including on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, X, and YouTube. The Director General, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has double as many followers and subscribers.
Jana, could you tell us a little bit about your career and how you ended up in the WTO?
So I started my career with graphic design. I was a journalism student, and at the same time, I was working for a small design bureau back in Brazil. Well, as soon as I concluded journalism school, I got a job in broadcasting that led me to move to New York. And after a few years, I was looking for something fresh to do. Started applying for jobs in international organizations. And I was very lucky that the WTO at the time was looking for somebody with my profile, somebody young, somebody who I was young at the time. Somebody with experience in broadcasting to lead their television and video production work, and that had notions of economics because WTO language is very specific, and starting with an understanding of economics, which was my case, was helpful. So I landed a job. At the time, it was part of the press unit. And little by little, I started adding tasks and different responsibilities until about 10 years ago, I became responsible also for the social media work. So that's how at the WTO, we have combined audiovisual work and social media into one team, which is a bit different from other organizations, at least here in Geneva. Most of our peers have these disconnected or merged in different ways.
This is interesting with your broadcast background. Tell us a little bit about the audiovisual content that you produce and how do you produce for the different formats, for the different platforms?
That's an interesting question because each platform requires something a bit different to do well. And the organization also will require different types of audiovisual content depending on the moment or depending on the practical needs. For the most part, the production is event-driven. We have a conference. We have interesting people coming around. So we're going to interview these individuals, try to get something that, is it's easier to get in an interview than during a panel discussion. We will mix that up with clips from the conference. We produce a short summary. So that's easily and quickly done. It's okay content for social media. It's not going to be great content for social media. And then when we have the time and energy, we look for things that we feel are more interesting. One of the series that I'm most proud of is called Let's Talk Trade. And it started as a way to not to explain, but to put trade concepts in simpler words. We were looking for metaphors to show that some concepts are best understood using day-to-day life, either music or sport or whatever comes, food. We filmed in a chocolate factory. We filmed at the Victoria Hall here in Geneva, beautiful music hall. And the only constraint there for us is really time and we're very specific with the type of language that we want to use. So, of course, it's best for any social media content or video production not to carry jargon. On this one, we have a zero tolerance for jargon, and as we work with our experts who are fluent in jargon, it's very heartwarming to see how they understand what we're trying to do, and they come along with us in this journey. So getting to the right script is the most difficult task. We always feature the experts themselves explaining a particular topic, and it's really fun to do, and it's really fun to see the reactions of people when they watch these on social media. They make, of course, very good social media content, and it's something that we as a team love to do.
How do you make these meetings and that subject matter interesting for the wider audience? I know you're on TikTok, so what is your TikTok strategy?
Our TikTok strategy is very similar to other platforms in the sense that good content has to be good for the WTO in the first place, has to be good for the audience we have in a particular platform, and it has to be good for the platform. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Of course, it's not every single time that we can produce that, but I think with TikTok, not because of me, but because of my social media colleagues here, I think we do a decent enough job. We have some videos that have grown and ran much more than our following there would make it capable. We did Wes Anderson style film. We jump on trends when they make sense for the WTO. I think it's always about this balance of what is good for the WTO, for our message, or for the face of our institution, what is good for the platform, and what the audience wants to see more of. So that's what we do in TikTok. That's what we do on Instagram as well. LinkedIn, we're getting there. For the most part, we've been replicating a lot of content that is meant for other platforms, but we're starting to develop this idea of what's good for the platform, what's good for the public out there.
In this journey, what has been the most memorable social media moment so far?
I can relate to one of them was the arrival of our current Director General, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She was a star, of course, in this economics world already on her own, and I don't think we've ever hit figures as we did with the videos of her arriving. First day I had free reign. I followed her every part of this building for hours, filming and capturing content. And we were very quick to produce good quality videos as well as more spontaneous posts. And I don't think we ever hit numbers as we did at that moment. So that was a very interesting experience for her, to welcome her public into the WTO. And then we also saw this as an opportunity to show this new public what the WTO was about. So that was a very interesting moment. Another one, and it's interesting, I was sitting on the table where I am right now with a colleague around 4 a.m. On day 6 of a 4-day conference. We were getting close to either to a very substantial set of results from negotiations or a complete failure. And around 4 a.m., after this closing meeting had been postponed from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. to whenever it happens, we were drafting the posts that we wanted to hit the moment the conference closed, with a good result, with a okay result, with the result we were not expecting. And for me, that particular moment was very memorable because I was tired. It was like day 6, very gruesome, long working days before that. And that day we didn't know when it was going to end. We were already about 20 hours in. We didn't know where the end line was going to be. And the energy of my social media manager, June, in producing and revising and getting the best quality possible. And we were together drafting on our laptops in this small table in my office. I think that's what good teamwork and good commitment to the job looks like.
Talking about your team, can you give us some insights into your team structure? How big is your team?
How small is my team, you're asking? Yes, sure. So the joke I've been making recently is that on social media, we try to look much bigger than we are. We have 2 people dedicated to social media. Currently, we have 2 people dedicated to video. I oversee most of it, and I'm most often jumping in for video production because that's where my skill set is and my the demand is bigger. And we work also with a lot of helpers. For video production, we have consultants that come in when we need more content, or when we need more arms and eyes on something. And on the social media side, we work with the press team that's made of 5 people. They will also produce content, they will draft, and some of them are capable of creating their own visuals as well. They can post depending on the moment. We want to be quick, particularly on X. So everybody has authorization to post whenever the time is right, and we try to coordinate this so that we don't step on each other's toes. So it's a small core team. It's bigger family contributing to social media and also pitching in on video products.
Thank you. And finally, a battery of standard questions which we ask to all our guests. First of all, who is your favorite and most inspiring social media mentor?
The fact that I started in communications before social media was a thing, and I saw it develop from the ground up, made me not have one mentor who brought me to this world, but I had many mentors. And I would say that my mentor is actually the community of practitioners. You know, Matthias, you were involved in some of our very early work when we were trying to decide whether social media was good for the WTO or not, when some of us communicators here were trying to convince the powers that, yes, we need a presence, we need a voice. And Dante, we met over time and over again after I took over social media work under my responsibility in conferences or in chats, informal chats, or in just a call, or in group meetings of the peers here in Geneva, which I find extremely useful. My younger colleagues, past and present, and I'm certain future as well, are my mentors because they understand things about the audience in their current age group that I do not and I cannot get on my own there. And they will share very inspiring ideas. Some of them, at first, I say, no, this is not the WTO. And then you know what? You're right. So shout out to June and Greta and Roxana, who are currently mostly involved here on social media. I learn a lot from my peers. So maybe my mentor is this community that formed around this niche of communicating social media with for international organizations which are not very easy to or flexible in terms of what can be said online, and we understand each other. It's a very generous community as well. So I hope you were not expecting one name. I gave you a million, and that's my answer.
Much better. I really like the community approach. Definitely, that's how we all grow together. Which are your 3 favorite accounts to follow?
I do follow for work reasons, institutions that are similar to the WTO. I follow the IMF and I really like what they do there. I follow the OECD. I follow other organizations here in Geneva. I really enjoy looking at the WHO's feed, for example. I think it's very rich and very varied and true to their mission. I learn a lot from them for personal use. I follow a lot of authors to see the person behind the books that I like. What else? And I found over time also social media practitioners who talk a lot about their methods and what's good and what's not good. And I like to follow those to keep abreast, to see what else is out there.
Which are your favorite social media channels for professional and for personal use?
For professional use, for the WTO, X is still our go-to platform for most of our content. And Instagram has become also a major focus, particularly because surprisingly to us, we started getting very, very good results there, positive feedback. So we've been looking more and more at content that's fit for Instagram. Personally, it has evolved. Twitter has been for a long time my happy place. A little bit less so in its X version. I find less content that will keep me on the platform nowadays than I did in the past. I've been spending a bit more time on TikTok just to get my mind out of things. I follow a lot of I taught my algorithm there that I really like stand-up comedy, and it serves me well.
Do you have a podcast that you are listening to?
I use podcasts to connect with, to keep connected with Brazil and the US, my home country and the country where I lived, part of my life. So I use podcasts as my news digest. I listen to several news podcasts from both of these countries. Some others as well. I've been listening now more to some FT podcasts as well. So I'm still in the economics. I'm still an economic nerd after my time at Bloomberg TV. And I do enjoy, I also was a very early adopter of podcasts. When most people didn't know what they are, I was already hooked to some. And some of my favorites are still from those early days. NPR podcasts, both with storytelling or news, with a news focus.
Do you ever disconnect, and how do you avoid social media burnout?
I am very good at disconnecting. I'm very disciplined. When I step out of my office, of course, I'm available for emergencies or when my team, for whatever reason, needs me. But I will get home, I put my phone away, and I am a full-time mom for a few hours. For me, that's important in several levels. That's what I want to do. Then, of course, I will check in a few times when I know something is going on, when I have some time that I can, just waste away as everybody does on social media. I will pick up the phone again. But I like this moment of getting home and seeing what's the homework situation and what we want for dinner, and spending that time, even if it's watching TV back to a screen. But something that we do as a family, for me, that's very important. When I'm on holidays, my team knows I am on holidays. I have 2 rules for that. I will be there if they need me, but they will have to reach me by calling, because I'm not going to, they can't expect me to check an email or a Teams message. And the second rule is whatever they decide when I'm not here, I will back them up even if I don't agree. So that gives them the liberty of being themselves. And if they did something that I didn't think was the right thing to do, I will back them up. That's the rule. That's the deal. And it has been working well so far.
Sounds like a great deal. Thanks for sharing, Jana. Finally, in one sentence, What is your social media mantra?
I think it's authenticity, but I also think it's this combination of these three things. It has to be good for the WTO, good for the platform, and good for the audience. And by following these three things, you will get content that will portray your organization well, that will carry your message as far as it can go.
Jana, thank you so much for your time and your insightful answers and tips. Very, very interesting.
And
Thank you very
this
much.
was this was the latest episode of our Some Insights podcast with me, Dante Licona.
And me, Matthias Lifkens. Please subscribe to this podcast and follow us on our social media channels.
Until next time.
That's your favorite cause. On number Some Insights, hear the pros view. Dante and Matthias bringing insights new. Talking strategies, the wins and the woes. Deep conversations where the real talk flows. From pros and exec, stories come about, revealing the behind the scenes light. Some Insights podcast.